Welcome to Washington East to West Sports. This is episode 40. I am Matt Beatty, joined alongside, as usual, by Sean Beatty and Kevin Arnodahl. And today we have a reoccurring guest now. We have Justin Meinecke, a.k.a. JT the Ginger on Twitter. So, gentlemen, let's get into some quick topics real quick. Justin, thank you for joining the show. Let's talk really quickly about the Sounders. They still have not lost a game in regulation. They had a 0-0 draw yesterday against Austin FC. They have a couple weeks off before they are back in action again. So the Sounders are still undefeated in regulation, which is beautiful. So good job, Sounders, and keep it up. They got a 2-week break, I believe, for CONCACAF, and they're back in action, I believe, the 16th of June. So catch the Sounders. Yeah. So catch the Sounders back in a couple weeks. Also, a couple quick hockey shout-outs. The Toronto Maple Leafs continue to disappoint everyone in Canada, but Carey Price, former Tri-City American, they won 3 straight games. The Montreal Canadiens did. Carey Price stopped all but one shot today. 3-1 win over Toronto in Game 7. They are moving on to the Canadian Finals to take on Winnipeg on Wednesday. So good job, Carey Price. And Brandon Carlo used to work with him at the TC American. Shout out to the big defenseman. He is playing with the Boston Bruins right now. They had a tough overtime loss today, but they are still 1-1 with the New York Islanders. And Noel Quinn was hired as the Seattle Storm head coach. So good news there for the Storm. They're getting a great coach there and a great team already there. Any thoughts on those 3 pieces, gentlemen? Anything?
Carey Price is cool, but Matthew, I just say that I don't think it's just the Maple Leafs who disappoint. I think it's all of Canadian hockey teams. When was the last time they won a Stanley Cup?
I don't. We were barely born, I think.
Yeah, so I think all of Canada has been disappointed by all the Canadian teams. But yeah, Montreal or Toronto especially. Yeah.
JT, Kev, any thoughts on any of that?
Nothing.
No?
I'll go ahead. I say I'm not as dialed into hockey as I was last year. I didn't play fantasy hockey this year, but been keeping a pulse and go hockey. I'm ready. I'm just ready for the Kraken. I'm just kind of like put childish things aside and just focus on what's ahead.
Are you? What is his? Rob. Was it Rob Lowe, the NFL hat in the Super Bowl? He's like, "Go team." You're just go hockey.
Yeah, it's just the emblem of the NHL.
Yeah, there you go.
He's like Chance the Rapper. Let's do that hockey. All right, well, let's move into a topic that JT is a specialty in, some baseball. Specifically, let's talk Seattle Mariners. Speaking of another team with playoff woes, but sorry for the low blow there. But the Mariners have had a very good week since we last talked. So let's just go over those results really quick. 3-game series in Oakland. When we were last on the air, they won 4-2 while we were recording the podcast, and then went 4-3 the next day. Lost the end of the series on Wednesday, 6-3. Came back home and swept the Texas Rangers 5-0, 3-2, 3-2, and 4-2. And then today, an early game, they hosted the Oakland A's once again and won 6-5 in 10 innings with one of the best meme photos you will possibly see from Tom Murphy with his game-winning sacrifice fly. So, gentlemen, I just wanted to ask, last week we were, pretty down on the Mariners, but they have won 5 in a row. So what a week, what a week can do to change things for any team. But JT, I'm going to throw it to you first. You're the guest. What have you thought of the Mariners this past week?
I think the teams you laid out in front of, ultimately winning against Texas should be expected. I think my expectations might be like an even split or a 3-1. So it's nice to sweep Texas. Oakland, it's nice to get 2 out of 3. Kaprelian really impressed me. I hadn't really heard much of him before. And then all of a sudden I'm like, who's this tall stallion throwing the short arm motion, pumping 94 like up in the zone like it's nothing. But anyway, he's an athletic. We won't dive into him, but Kikuchi really stands out in my head out of the last few outings I've seen out of him, and hopefully he's back. Just kind of spasmed the other day, but positives. Dunn is impressing. Sheffield, I'm still kind of on the fence about. and Flexen kind of seems to play up or down to the competition. But overall, Kelnick from the eye test, and I guess it sounds like statistically has some of the worst luck so far. He's hitting that ball hard, but is not finding the dirt or the grass. It is getting caught, turned into easy outs. So ultimately, just positives over the 6-game losing streak. So that's always nice but that's what baseball is. It's ups and downs and streaks. So as to be expected, I think.
Kevin, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts. What we did at Texas is what we should have done to Detroit. To be honest, like, how do you not sweep one of the worst teams in baseball, and then we go in and we just kick the crap out of Texas? It's like, where was this like a week ago type of deal? It's good to see that they're kind of getting, because they're with today's win, they're 1 game over 100, or they're even at
one game over.
1 game over.
Yeah, 500. Let's see, positives. Yeah, I would say Kyle Lewis getting a little bit more consistency, even though he's now day-to-day as of today, sadly. Hopefully that's nothing to be concerned about. We'll get into that a little bit later. Just anytime you can take anything over the A's, that's always a positive, just because usually the A's are just a pain in our butts. So I will gladly take a series win over that. Negatives, just more injuries, losing Eric Swanson, I think, is a big deal. Like, he's just been fire for them. Especially with it already depleted bullpen with COVID issues that we already talked about last week. Yeah, but all in all, it was a good week, and hopefully they can keep that rolling the next week.
Sean, what are your thoughts?
I think mostly what JT said. I think Kikuchi's been an absolute beast. My issue is maybe not sweeping Detroit, Kevin, because every team's going to win some games, but I was writing it down like, yeah, you need to win that series. That series sucked to lose. Like, that really wasn't acceptable. Like, not even to like lose but get swept. Like, you're 1 game above 500 now, but if you win 2 of those games, it's a whole different ball game than what you're playing in right now. You're basically in second place. Now, I'm not saying we're competing for this division, but if people who think that we are, it would look so much better if we just didn't get swept by Detroit, who then proceeded, I think, after the next 2 games, lose 11 in a row or something like that. Like, it wasn't like Detroit was hot. They sucked, and we just sucked more.
And we got no by him.
Yeah. Same thing with the Texas series before. Again, like saying like don't lose a series to Texas, but take 1. And then Baltimore, take 1. Baltimore had lost. What did they lose? Are they at 14 in a row now, JT? I don't know if you know, but I think they've lost 14 in a row. Like,
yeah, it wasn't a good month of May for Baltimore fans, and there wasn't something like combined 6
Arizona,
wins.
Arizona,
that's what it was.
We're like 6-30, but like Baltimore, we started May with them and Texas, and if we had just won those series, nothing sweeping, we're 32-23, and we're in first place, and that's just beating really bad teams.
And remember, we gave Baltimore 2 wins at the very beginning of May.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if we just taken 1 from Baltimore and 1 more from Texas and just taken 2 from Detroit, not to mention sweeping any of these teams, we're in first place. We're beating teams that are terrible, historic, like they're all last place in their divisions. You should be beating them, like Kevin said. Not even saying a sweep, but just beat them. And we'd be in first place right now. But like, it's the Mariners, it's young. JT touched on it. Jared Kelnick, just the dude. I like, he's clearly talented. People are going to look at that batting average, which it's 2021, but that's a whole different story. But I think his approaches for the most part have been getting better, which his batting average is getting worse. I think he's taking his walks, which is what he should be doing. And he's getting on base and he's stealing. He's been walking a lot last couple of days. JT said like that. What was Matthew? I think you said his first at bat, like he hit a ball down the side, against Cleveland, and the right fielder made some crazy catch in the stands. Like, he's just getting really unlucky right now. It's kind of going to happen. They'll drop eventually. He does have to make some adjustments. He does look bad at times, but again, he's 21 coming from AA. Like, he played like 5 days at AAA. Like, he's gonna have some rough bumps, but he looks really good. And JT said Kikuchi's just an animal. And me and Kevin were talking the other day. I don't know how Justin Dunn does it. he outproduces his expected ERA by like 2 ERA every year. But at a certain point, I was saying like, because Christian Yelich is famous for this with his batted ball data, he just does it. And after a certain point, maybe that's just who he is. He gets guys on base and then they just don't score. I don't know how he does it. He doesn't change who he is once they get on base, but they don't score.
He just gets it done.
Yeah.
It feels like he knows like
go.
what the perfect pitch is to get the K. It's like
he has horrible control. He walks like 2 guys and he's like, okay, now I'm gonna get people out. And I'm like, why didn't you just do that before? But he has to walk people, give himself a difficult situation. He's like, I'm gonna leave a stranded on base of 88%. And I'm like, that's not realistic. And I looked at his Fangraphs. I'm like, it happens every year. I don't know how he does it. So we're at like 120 innings. So this is maybe just who Justin Dunn is. So, but that's what I said, JT. I'm like, every game, I'm like, it's gonna blow up. It's just gonna be terrible. And then every game, it's like, here's 6 innings and 1 run, or here's 2 runs. Like, I'm just comfortable now accepting who he is. Like, he's just good, and can't explain it. He doesn't do anything exceptional. His numbers look terrible, but at the end of the day, the expected numbers don't mean anything as long as the real numbers are good. So the ending results are good. Justin Dunn, I don't get it.
Just looking back on it, I almost feel like I'd have to go back and actually truly look, but I'm almost wondering if he truly is better out of the stretch. If it's some type of mentality or just with runners on, it's uncanny how just you look at his whip and what he's allowing on base, and then it's just like, how did he space out only a few each inning? Like, one of these times it's got to pile up and just doom him, but no.
Last I looked, it was like 85% strand rate. 85. I don't know. I don't understand.
Made from pressure.
I just don't know. But it just, like JT said, he just gets out every inning. And we were talking, me and Kevin were texting, and he led off that inning walking 2 people and didn't give up any runs. And I'm like, how did he do it again? Like,
I was kind of freaking out there.
I was like, what? And I was like, I've calmed down, Kevin. I'm like, he's not going to allow any runs. I just don't know how he's going to do it, but he's just not going to. And he didn't. I don't know how he does it. But
maybe he's just thinking, hey, I need to get 3 outs an inning. If I get 2 runners on, triple play, boom, done.
He lowered his ground ball rate he lowered his left on base percentage, JT, to 82% right now. So there you go. It's down to 82, which is exactly what it was last year.
Pitcher too. He gets like a significant Ks. Like it's kind of crazy.
When it matters the most. It was 82% exactly on the dot last year, and it was 81.8 the year before. He is just 82% strand rate every single year. I don't get it. His ground ball rate is ridiculous. Like his walk rate is like, he was like walking 12 guys an inning, and his ERA was 2.7. That doesn't make any sense.
Abbott below 200 so far this year. Yeah, ground ball rate at 32%. Yeah. That is not healthy.
He gets them ground balls, man. But again, he's like at 100 innings. It's amazing to watch. Like, honestly, just watch him, because like at no point you can walk the bases loaded on 12 pitches, and you're like, I am confident somehow no runs will cross this plate. I don't know how it will happen, but it won't. So if we can count on Justin Dunn and Kikuchi, like, they're looking pretty good. And Marco comes back tomorrow, so.
So I only was able to catch. I watched the game on Wednesday. We got done early, so I was able to catch that afternoon game in the office, and then I was able to catch some of the game yesterday. So I haven't seen a whole lot of Mariners baseball, but I have been following on Twitter and everything. Sean, stop disrespecting JP Crawford. He's playing much better lately.
Is he?
Some sick plays too.
He's making plays. I'm not really worried about the numbers. I think he's playing pretty well from what I've seen online.
Like a big error or something like that too. But I mean, he's fine. Like, I guess, like.
And I think
I saw a stat that he's leading the league in a lot of like infield base stats too.
He as of 2 days ago was leading the league in defensive run saves for shortstop, but then lost that title today. So yeah.
I mean,
it's so important.
Yeah, I still like how JP Crawford's playing. Obviously Mitch Haniger is still leading the pack and everything. It's nice to see Ty France back, so that's good. I do want to mention, Kevin mentioned the injuries. Sean, you mentioned Marco is slated to start tomorrow, so that's great. Dylan Moore is still a few days away from resuming baseball activities. According to Ryan Divish, this was May 27th. Shed Long played 9 innings for the Rainiers on the 29th. Casey Sadler is on the 60-day injured list. That was May 29th. And then a lot of injury updates on the 30th yesterday. Kendall Graveman and Drew Steckenrider are still in San Diego going through COVID-19 protocols. Evan White resumed taking swings this weekend, but isn't ready for a rehab assignment, according to Daniel Kramer of MLB.com. Eric Swanson is expected to be sidelined for an extended period, according to Ryan Divish. And then also Kevin mentioned Kyle Lewis is now day-to-day. I forget what that injury was. Do you know what that was, Kevin?
It's like a right knee strain, I think. He was having pain in his right knee. They pulled him in the ninth.
Okay. So yeah, a lot of Mariners showing up on the injury report lately. Is there any of these that you guys are super concerned about, or is it just kind of a, it's all right, they'll be back soon type deal? Sean, what do you think?
I'm actually not too concerned. The only one that would make me a little nervous is Kyle Lewis, but it doesn't sound like his is too serious right now. Again, we're recording now. The time we're recording, we do not know anything more than it's minor. But yeah, with Marco coming back and with most of the guys in San Diego, I assume with COVID protocol at most taking 2 weeks, but most of the time now taking 10 days, which should lead them up to probably the Anaheim series, I would assume. The bullpen getting a big boost then when those guys come back. I think we're actually doing better now. Now's a good time to get healthy, and I think it's looking pretty good. Especially with that bullpen, we found some guys that, like, can we just stop playing Montero? But we found some guys that have surprised recently, and Montero just needs to sit down and just really think about what he's done so far.
JT, are you concerned at all about any of these injuries?
Always concerned with the hip because the hips don't lie. So with Evan White, just gotta be careful with that. I'm bummed about Swanson because, man, he was looking some filthy, nasty stuff their last few outings. So the groin being a little serious is, I don't know. That's a tough one. But otherwise, COVID protocols, hopefully, they're doing okay. They'll bounce back and no like weight loss or any serious side effects, hoping. But yeah, nothing long term. Just now's the time to really hopefully try to get some people back. There's a lot of injuries going on in Major League Baseball, and with all these different matchups, if you can steal a win or two here, that will just only have long-term, benefits as we get into the dog days of summer.
Kevin, any injury concerns for you?
Well, as I already mentioned in GT Test, yeah, Eric Swanson's a big deal. I mean, the dude was constantly throwing like 97 pretty much on people and just making people look silly. Kyle Lewis, depending on the severity of it, just because we need, like I said, his bat's been heating up. And he's just, you want that in your rotation, sort of, in your lineup. But I mean, it's good to see that Marco's back. It'd be interesting to see what they do from there, especially after Logan Gilbert having a really good outing today. Cleaned a lot of stuff up. His slider looks a lot better because it was horrible last time it was up. So it'd be interesting to see what they do if Justice maybe takes a step back, or if they just send Logan back down.
They only have 5 guys right now. They've been running a bullpen day, so now they'll be back to a 6-man rotation.
That's true.
Yeah.
No, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So good point. Sorry. Go ahead. Keep going.
Oh no, go. No.
Yeah, that's a good segue into the starting pitching. So I did want to ask you guys with Logan Gilbert's, he's been playing pretty well in his last couple starts. So I want to ask you guys, reassessing this Mariners rotation as it comes back to a 6-man rotation. I'm gonna say, who are your top 2 starters at this moment in time? I mean, Marco's been gone for a while. James Paxton, we already know that. You have Dunn, you have Sheffield, you have Kikuchi, you have Gilbert, who's come up and shown some things. So I want to know, who are your top 2 guys at this point? Is it still Marco? And then, I mean, it sounds like Kikuchi is kind of their 1-2 at this moment, but is that who it is in your mind? And is Marco still the guy, even though he still needs to kind of work back in? Sean, I'm going to throw it to you first.
Am I allowed to pick Marco? Because
you can pick Marco, absolutely.
Okay, I'll pick Marco and Kikuchi. It comes down to Kikuchi or done for me, which is like I never would have said that before the season started. But Kikuchi's stuff is just stupid, and the run he's been on recently is just ridiculous. So, and I trust Marco was improving before he got hurt. So I assume Marco will be something closer to that rather than the start of the year Marco. So if you get real Marco and Kikuchi, those are pretty solid one too. And Logan Gilbert has really the last couple starts has really shown why he is what he is. I think some of it was, oh my gosh, was that freaked me out. Was who he was. So the only ones that I was really big on Sheffield, but he's the only one I really don't believe in. So yeah, my 1-2 is really Marco and Kikuchi with like 2B being done.
Justin, how about you?
Oh man. So first and second start, it's got to be Kikuchi, and then it's just deciding whether I believe in Gilbert's progress. I think just the way that Gonzalez showed before he even got injured, I don't know if the baseball was messing with them, and it seemed like across the league, those command control type pitchers were struggling. So I think I would more lean towards Gilbert being a 2, who I could rely on moving forward. Pretty much for the same reasons. He's really locked it down recently, and I feel like he's more comfortable out there, and he's ready to do work.
Kevin, what about you?
It's kind of tough for me just because I've seen a lot of good, like Kikuchi I probably would put in there, of course, to go with everybody else, because he's just been the most solid thing that you've seen around this whole season. Like Dunn just pulls things out of his butt, which is kind of crazy. He's the most consistent, if that makes sense. I like what Logan Gilbert's done. The only thing I think right now is his fastball location, because he just puts stuff right over the middle of the plate at the moment. And like, I want to see that fastball not in that position, so to speak. I want to see it, high or low and in like type of deal, not just dead center over the freaking plate at 95. But God, I would probably say Marco, but just with the injuries, and I'm gonna probably I'll say Marco, just because I have a feeling he'll probably get back into form. I think he might struggle maybe tomorrow a little bit, but then after that, it should hopefully get into gear.
I want to mention a trade really quick, and there's probably some story behind this that Sean and JT can attest to, because I saw on Twitter the Mariners have acquired cash considerations in exchange for right-handed pitcher Sam Delaplane, and JT and Sean had some Twitter reacts to this. Explain it to myself and the folks at home who are unaware of why this is such a big deal to you, Sean.
Go ahead. No, I'll let JT.
Okay.
I'm too hurt right now.
I think ultimately, Delaplane was, if anyone you wanted to point to as all strikeouts, no walks, leave no prisoners. You're either gonna hit my best stuff or I'm gonna strike you out with it. It was him. That was the beginning of just identifying it. Well, really an identity with the Mariners minor leagues this last few years, and what we're cooking and what's coming down the pipeline. So to see him go through waivers, I think he was on the 40-man, and I thought he had Tommy John or something to that effect. I hadn't seen him pitch yet this year. Yeah, so it was really surprising to see him get traded just for cash. Whereas I don't know, it just seemed like mismanagement, almost like a recording error. It's just disappointing. Best of luck to him, but it's a bummer.
Like the last time he pitched a full season, his ERA was 0.4. And that his numbers look so good. Like JT, like he's a young guy who is coming off a major injury, yeah, but like who doesn't have Tommy John and misses a year this year? He's a little bit younger than Logan Gilbert, so I just feel like, and he was like the 13th ranked prospect. for the Mariners, a future value of 40 plus, which is a good major leaguer. I feel like you could have got more than cash for him, unless they think he's never going to play again. But I just feel like it's one of those that just dumped a guy for no real reason. And a guy at worst case scenario, I think, is like a okay bullpen guy in the majors in like a couple of years when you're competing. Like, you don't need Delaplane now, but I really liked his stuff, and I thought he was much more worthy than cash considerations.
Okay.
I think I'll double down. He should have been up. He's 26. At some point, like you.
Oh yeah, he was 24 last he pitched. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, but this year, I mean, like, yeah. Now I think he had TJ. I mean, I should double check now that I'm saying it out loud, but it's frustrating where it's just like, okay, this is on you, Mariners management. You know, you done messed up. So hopefully it's a clerical error or something. I don't know.
All right. Well, before we get into the rest of the league,
He did Tommy John in April, JT.
Okay, thank you.
Who has a prospect update for us? Sean? Kevin?
Okay.
Oh, Sean, go ahead. Sean's ready.
Oh yeah. So I don't know if you guys saw, but they're doing their little Olympic stuff for baseball right now, and the DR has 2 Mariners on it today, and with some guy named Julio Rodriguez and Lubator. Am I pronouncing that right?
Probably not.
Well, I think so. He's their other outfielder, and he's the one who hit a home run and he got 2 hits. And Julio Rodriguez also got 2 hits, or a hit and a walk. So the Mariners kind of stole the show today for the DR. So Julio's batted third, of course, the 20-year-old. So the Mariners prospects who are invited to this big tournament to play for the Olympics, and if they go, they'll play in the Olympics, showed out pretty well. So I was pretty excited about that. I don't want to steal anybody else's thunder, so I'll let JT and Kevin go.
Kev, what do you got?
Oh, I was just gonna mention, like, Tramel's still being sexy, like, but Cal Rowley's bat's been heating up recently too. He had a very good outing today and kind of over the past
fire, man. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, that's true. I mean, he's just been heating up even more. Like, he's just getting hotter and hotter.
Dude.
Good pitching outing by Logan Verrett today. So, like, just good stuff overall. Just, yeah, it just, the Rainiers are just doing things that are just illegal in most countries. So, I just hope they keep it up. It'll be interesting to see what they do probably in the next month or two, especially if Kyle Lewis has to go on the disabled. Like, do you bring Chamil? Like, we'll see.
Yeah.
JT, any prospect updates?
I'm just heated off Delaplane. So, hey, look at this. Dylan Thomas, 28 years old, Rule 5 eligible. Flip him for something. If he's going to be down in AAA hitting 339 with 10 walks to 21 strikeouts, and let's see, 20 hits, 9 of those being extra bases, let's make something of him. Hey, Jimmy Yacobonis, 29 years old, 14 innings, 16 strikeouts to, let's see, 3 walks. I think he's doing just fine. We need some bullpen help.
Second base for the Giants. Like, we need anybody. Like, throw me a AA guy. Let's just see what he's got. Like, anybody.
I mean, Yacobonis is a righty, but I mean, at this point, if we're taking cash considerations for our 13th best prospect in the system for the Mariners, like, are we upside down? Are we? You know, what's going on? It's almost we need to start flipping the switch, and like, hope and prayers are great, but you know, if we want to compete for the playoffs 2024 or sooner, or you know, whatever number you want to put on it, like, you know, what happened this offseason I talked about last time, get Kelnick's name out your mouth, Mather, but it's starting to let's tighten the screws. Let's like prove your worth, management. Like, do you deserve your job for when we're going to start getting better?
Oh, can I say, Matthew, I have one?
Yeah.
Brandon Williams, the guy who has the same value as Sam Delaplane and is a couple years younger, I think he had 14 strikeouts in 7 innings the other day. That was pretty impressive. He's killing it in high A, so I assume he'll get called up with the barrage of other players in the high A Everett team who will get called up to Arkansas.
All right. Well, let's take a look at the league as a whole. So we talked about the standings, I believe, after the first month of the season. So let's just check in at the 2-month mark about here. So leading each division is the Tampa Bay Rays, the Chicago White Sox, the Oakland Athletics, the New York Mets, the Chicago Cubs, and the San Francisco Giants. So which of those teams is the most shocking to you guys? And just give me a team that you're kind of surprised about where they're at in the standings right now. Here, I'll share my screen so y'all can see the standings. That should certainly help this conversation. So I'm gonna go ahead and start. The team that is most surprising, I think, is clearly the San Francisco Giants. It's a very tough division. Well, I guess hold on, we'll say top 3. It's a tough division, but
tough 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be very clear.
Yeah. After that, it's a little bit shaky there, but overall, I think it's pretty shocking that the Giants are there. I also, find it weird that the Mets miss so many games, and just based on percentage and the fact that the division is sub 500, that they're leading the division still is very interesting. But overall, these standings, I think. I don't know what you guys think, but I think for the most part, they're starting to kind of level out to the area we expected. NL West is a little bit tough there with the 3 teams. They're all kind of vying for first place and second place for that matter. But I think that the most surprising division is definitely the AL East. You still got Boston up there competing, and nobody really expected them to be there. New York is starting to pick it up, although they are getting a lot of injuries lately. So we'll see how that goes. But I think that the AL East is very interesting, and the NL West is certainly something to keep an eye on. But at the 2-month mark, it's starting to get to about where we expected, with a few surprises here and there, I would say. Kevin, I'm going to throw it to you. What are your
So the East actually kind of did what I thought would do, because Tampa Bay just has a lot of talent on it. And we knew that Boston's still doing good, but like, I personally believe Tampa Bay is a way better team than Boston currently at the moment. They just have some younger prospects being hot and stuff like that. Some teams that kind of surprised me, Twins a little bit, just because they have a lot of good hitting on that team. And the pitching kind of just went to God knows where. I don't know. Like, I think the Twins have kind of surprised a lot of people, because I think some people had them picked as, competing for a playoff team, so to speak, especially after last season. Let's see, scroll it down a little bit. Our division, I'm not really, that kind of how it should look. Other than the Mariners being middle, I could have had them lower, I could have had them higher. It's because we're just, yeah. The Nationals being dead last, that kind of is, I would imagine, being shocking with how much talent is on that team as well. And having a negative 26 run differential is just, ouch town population them. I mean, Phillies with negative 33, but Cincinnati came back down to earth after their hot start of just pure offense, beating the living crap out of everybody. And then I'm going to say actually more of the Dodgers being in middle is a little bit shocking, even though they are still 31-22. But God, that's just a 3-way punch out in the NL West, just of murdering each other. So that's going to make it exciting to see. Yeah. Those other than that, that's pretty much about it.
JT, what are your thoughts?
I'll just go through it as I see it. Tampa Bay Rays, 9-1, and I think they're like something like 15-1 and out of their last 16. They're just mixing and matching, and they make it work. Red Sox are surprising. Eovaldi, I don't know if you've heard of him, but he usually gives up home runs. I think he's given up one this year. It's very surprising. Kudos to him. Yankees dealing with injuries. Blue Jays, Vlad Guerrero Jr. He's here and he's for real, and I think he's your home run leader so far. Just starting to hang. I mean, they're hanging in there. The Twins decimated by injuries. Again, we want to see Buxton. We want baseball to be fun, and he hasn't even played like a third of the games. And hey, Tigers. Athletics, Astros, I think just to be expected, like Kevin said, Mariners up and down, we'll see how it goes. The Angels, if you're not watching Ohtani, you're not watching baseball correctly. It's the most exciting thing. It's what every kid dreams of. Pitch, hit, do it all. He's doing it at the most elite level there is. Hey, Rangers. The Mets, decimated by injuries, but they're at the top. So that bodes well. So when they get healthy, hopefully they'll have a little bit of a cushion to make a push. And the Braves, some bad news coming out of there. Do not approve. Phillies, Harper seems a little dinged up so far, but their pitching seems fine. I think as it should be there. And the Marlins and the Nationals. I think the Nationals, Strasburg, hopefully can get back healthy. Cubs, Chris Bryant is back somehow, and St. Louis is just like Oakland. They always keep winning. And the Brewers, Woodruff and Burns, that's a 1-2 that you'd want to have. Cincinnati, say again.
Peralta,
he's a great 3.
It's
ridiculous. And without Yelich being like completely healthy, Cincinnati is what they're calling it there. And for that offense to do what it was doing, and now the pitching's starting to come on, and hey, Pirates, it's pretty much is all I'm saying. I want to see Brian Hayes come back healthy. Giants, Padres, Dodgers. Right now, someone's going to win that, and the other 2 are going to get the wild card. So it's going to be fun to see that play out through the rest of the year. And Gossman has been for real for the Giants. Padres, they're super entertaining, and the Dodgers are just going to wait back and try to get health on their side. Maybe Gonsolin will come back soon. And then, hey, Rockies, Diamondbacks. But for overall, I think the biggest surprise for me, pleasant surprise, Giants, Mets, being surprised at the top there. And then probably Boston or Cleveland still hanging in there. I didn't think they'd do as well as they have so far.
Sean, what are your thoughts?
I will say the most surprising good team is the Rays. I really liked the Rays, liked them last year. I just didn't think they would be best winning percentage in baseball good. That was a little bit surprising, but I mean, that organization knows what they're doing. I mean, we've seen it year after year. So it is a little surprising they're this good, but it's not surprising they're that good. The team that I'm also the opposite way is surprised they're that bad is the Diamondbacks. I didn't think they'd be great, but I'm surprised they're this bad. It's just, they're so bad. I will say it's really funny to look at the AL West and look at no one has a positive run differential except for the Astros, who are plus 60. It clearly shows you who the best team in that division is, and it's not the Athletics. So the Astros are coming. Mariners just you gotta like in the office when you got to draft Kevin, just get on his back and just hold on because they're going one direction, and you better just ride with them because Oakland's going to get run over here in a second. So, man, yeah, They just took 2 from the Padres, and no one even talked about it. So, yeah, yeah, they'll be okay. But the Oakland, we're playing the Angels next, and they're down here below us. Just beat them up while they have no Mike Trout. They suck. Come on, let's do this thing.
All right. Well, yeah, let us know what you think out there of the current MLB standings. I'm at Matt. Sean's at Sean Beatty. Kevin's at Kev Luth. First team believes me in a 3. And JT is at JT_the Ginger. And gentlemen, before we move on to some NFL news, I do want to ask, how is your fantasy league going? Who is winning? And who do we need to shame right here on the show for being last out of the 3 of you? JT, I'm going to go to you.
Oh man, I didn't think it was that specific. I thought we were just talking about some fantasy studs or duds. I didn't know we were going into standings. Okay, I'm not last out of the 3 of us, so I'll just throw that out there.
There you go.
I did want to say real quick before I forget, Kevin's boy, because we talked about when I was on last time, Jose Godoy. Kevin was like, hey, he's 2 for 2, has 1,000% batting average. He historically has significance now. He will be your Jeopardy question that you'll trump your kids in the future. 2,000th MLB player officially. And when you think of that, how long MLB has going, they don't even fill a stadium with how many players have made it to the major league level and had
play pro baseball. Yeah.
Right. It is difficult. So as much as I'm just, over here pissing and moaning about Sam Delaplane, but it's tough. And like I said, you're 26, 28, you're a grown man, probably with kids and a mortgage. And you haven't cracked the big leagues. I mean, give him a shot. It's a kid's game. But ultimately, shout out to Kevin. He called it. I don't know how he knew it. Jose Godoy just.
This is just JT rants about Sam Delaplane episode. Is happening. I thought JT, you tagged me, the one that thought I was gonna be disappointed, but apparently no, I have no idea.
So who is leading out of the 3 of you? That's what I want to know.
I think in our Yahoo league, me and JT are actually tied. We have the exact same record. I, for some reason, according to Yahoo, have the tiebreaker. I don't know how, but I am 6th. JT is 7th.
Probably heads up.
Although, to be fair, Kevin is 9th, but we are separated by 3 games, the 3 of us. And we count each category as a win-loss. So, 3 games is, it's literally nothing. So, we're basically all of the same record.
And who is winning, and are they really lucky?
George is winning, and I have no idea how it's happening. But he got Evaldi, like JT said. Glass now, he just has, dudes who are just Scafani, who's figured it out. Bassett, who I didn't believe in. Lopez, who the Mariners gave away for nothing a couple years ago, who's figured it out. He has Means business.
Means, yeah.
He just, everybody who popped this year, he got him. He just.
Yeah, great pitching so far for him, and just some solid hitting. Freeman,
me and him had a close matchup last week. He won 6-4. And then I got perfect weeks the week before by freaking Travis. Oh my God, I don't even want to.
That's never acceptable, Kevin.
I had a really good week 2 weeks ago too, but 53 innings with an ERA of 0.84. I'm just gonna say that and let it sizzle there.
It was a good week.
I wanted to cry.
All right. Well, I am going to be just an observer from the outside. And sorry, Kevin, shame on you for being last right now. But at least you're close. You'll overtake them, I believe it. And I know Sean will end up last as per usual. So let's move on to some football conversation. I don't know if anybody's been paying attention to Twitter and or the news, but Julio Jones wants to leave Atlanta. And obviously there have been conversations about where he might end up, who can afford him, who wants to trade for him, how the Falcons want a first-round pick. But there have been reports of the Seahawks in talks to acquire Julio Jones. So Russell Wilson and Julio Jones have been in touch, according to Diana Rossetti of ESPN. As we already know, they already have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So I just want to throw this question out to you guys and see what you think of it. Well, first, I'll just phrase it. What do you think is the likeliness that the Seahawks will get Julio Jones, and what would you be willing to give up to get Julio Jones at this point? So I'm going to start this off because I don't think it's very likely that the Seahawks get Julio Jones. They are asking for a first-round pick. I imagine they probably won't budge too much on that unless there's the right offer. That being said, if Julio and Russ are talking, I think there's a possibility he comes. Now, I'd probably put it about 10% in my personal opinion. But, the fact that those two have a rapport and there's, there is a possibility a deal could get done. Now, I was kind of doing some research on some salaries earlier today, and my proposed trade would be to get Julio for Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, and a future third-round pick. I like this deal for a couple reasons. One, this satisfies the let Russ cook people to have 3 solid wide receivers for Russ. This satisfies Russ for having a lot of targets to throw to, as well as, the offensive line hopefully just holds up. But I feel like Julio Jones is a want, not a need. I need to eat food to survive. I don't need the newest Xbox video game when it comes out, but I want it. And just like I want Julio Jones on this team. So I would love to get him. I think it's probably very unlikely, but that is what I would offer because the salaries of Adams and Quandre right now equal about Julio Jones' salary. So if you want to go with the let Russ cook theory, then there is no better way to do it than have 3 top wide receivers, spread it out, and let's just throw the ball. Now, I will just preface this by saying I know exactly what Sean and Kevin are going to say about that strategy because they don't believe in Pete. But hey, you never know. Pete might change. So let's throw it to Sean first. Sean, what do you think?
I was hoping to go last. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not against obviously Julio Jones coming to Seattle. He's very good still. He's very efficient. The problem with it is obviously the money. The Falcons are not getting a first round off the table. It's never going to happen. No team is giving you a first rounder. I think they'd be fortunate to get a high second if based on the team they get, but he's going to want to go to contender, so it'll be a low second is their best bet. With the contract, they'll have to absorb. The other team will have to absorb. I am not, again, like Matthew, like if Pete is like, look, we get him and let's do this, I'm all for it because then it has to be cooking season. Like Russell's going to be the chef and we're going to be doing this thing because I don't see them doing this, having 3 picks, drafting a wide receiver the first, getting a new coordinator, have Russell being publicly upset, doing all of these things and then not cooking. If they get Julio, that has to mean that they're cooking. Now they won't get Julio, so I'm not worried about it. But as far as your trade, Matthew, the Jamal Adams, the issue with that is if you extend Jamal Adams, you actually save some money now and could absorb the Julio Jones contract versus like the other options with Diggs and stuff like that. Sending Diggs is fine, but I don't think they're going to want a guy like those that they're going to have to pay or he's going to walk because they're doing this to cut money, not absorb more money in the future like the Seahawks made the mistake of doing. So I just think if they do sign him in and work something out and like prorate some deals and stuff like that, it's going to just kick the can down the street in 2 years. And we're going to be in Atlanta's shoes in 2 years and having to cut salary.
All right, go 10 to Nolan. JT, what are your thoughts?
Too bad Sean's not going to hear this, but I would give this year's first and second round choices now because you're saying, hey, JT, you didn't have a first round, you dummy. You're just a baseball guy. Pete Carroll said, Adams is our first round pick this year, 2021. Well, great. Trade him. Give him Eskridge. I don't know. I don't see why we would need all these wide receivers if we really want Julio. Were we playing Madden? I don't. Okay, but sure. If that's what you're saying, it needs to happen. I don't like it, but I think we're so far gone. and we're backing ourselves, the Seahawks are backing themselves into a corner where we saw maybe shades of it this offseason. Russell's, camp is saying that he's thinking XYZ or, whatever it is. Russell wants to leave a legacy, and if you put Julio out there, like, I think the funniest meme I saw in relation to, who could stop this offense, Julio, Metcalf, Russell, and then I think it was Sean. It was a picture of Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll would be the biggest, negative thing against an offense of that, because he's I don't know, he's got the reins, and
so conservative. Just let it go.
And with Carson, and like I said last time when I was on here, I called it. They let go of Dunlap. 3 weeks later, they signed him back. I was a prophet on that one. I totally was talking out my other end, and I was like, I don't know. It seems likely, but I wasn't in depth about it. And then it happened. I was like, called it, nailed it. That was me.
Got it.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's the right way to go, but I feel like we're just playing Madden at this point.
Kevin, what are your thoughts?
I think we're a little bit more likely to be in it, just because that's what gets Pete excited, is big random hot deals, which we've done in the past. Like, nobody thought we would be in the Jimmy Graham market or the Percy Harvin market. And we were, and then all the other ones we did, like the Jamal Adams trade and stuff like that. So I think we're actually a little bit more in it than what people think we are. What we give up for it is going to be the big question. I mean, you probably put Eskridge in there just because you have a Julio Jones is proven, and Eskridge hasn't played a snap. I mean, his college shape does look great, but otherwise, as we've already mentioned and seen on Twitter, what does he do? He just sits. Honestly, too, if it comes down to it, I don't want to see him go anywhere else in the NFC West, because 49ers have been rumored to be in on a deal with them. I've even heard rumors of freaking Arizona.
I've heard every team in the NFC West.
Yeah, I would cry.
The Rams are out, the last we heard.
Yeah, the Rams are out. But Nuke and Julio just no.
AJ Green.
I just want to throw up. But I think it possibly could, just because, like, I don't know if I'm just reading a little bit more into it, but like, I feel like this offseason, he's done it more than previous off seasons. Like, Russell Wilson is going ham on workouts right now. Like, he is, like, you can tell he's kind of excited. Like, this might be the season where, like, they're just handing the reins over to.
You're just looking at those creamy thighs too close, Kevin. Like, you need to calm down.
That's true. Those up thrusts, baby. Those up thrusts, man. Just, get it. Poor Ciara, man.
Short shorts.
She is taking a beating. Whew. But no, like, I personally think, at least he's posting it more, that he is doing way more this offseason than what he has done. Not saying that he doesn't do stuff in the offseason. He always does good stuff and keeps his body in shape, but he is, like, thoroughly posting it, excited, ready to go, like, wants just so I don't know if that's I think that's a good sign that we might be on the trend of also too, when people who are smarter than Pete, aka Nick Saban, come out in public and say, hey, running the ball is stupid, you should throw it.
Exactly. And like
yeah, but it's outdated, I guess is the best way to say it. It's very outdated. He tends to kind of listen. Like, he's tried to copy Belichick stuff and Nick Saban stuff, and I can't remember the coach at LSU. But normally Pete likes to copycat off of guys that he thinks are up to his par, even though they're smarter than him. But he likes to put himself up there. I don't know why, but so I think it's a good sign, and Julio being in that offense would be ridiculous. You also do need an O-line to protect it, in which we've seen from last year we did not upgrade well. Sorry, Gabe Jackson is not an upgrade. At least at pass protection, that's for sure.
Are they having open tryouts this year? I'm down. 6'3", 5'8", 305. I just moved 8,000 pounds of landscaping material this weekend. Don't call me JT, call me J Traps. I'm burning right here and some in the delts.
Yes.
But hey, let's go.
All about the delts.
Seahawks, if you're listening, there's a man who should be signed right now after that pitch.
Can I say they do talk on the analytics side of it how it's very important to have 3 competent wide receivers. Right now, the Seahawks, you could argue, do not, because rookies do not count as competent. Not because they say they won't, but because you don't know who they are. It just simply they're an unknown. So,
but what's their Wonderlic?
Yeah, that's what matters. So that's what they're saying. They think that a lot of those analytics guys are understanding that maybe the Titans are going to be really pressing because right now they're in need of a solid number 2. They have like some other options at the lower 3s that are fine, but they basically just have AJ and scraping the bottom of the barrel there. So they need help. They need a lot of help.
Did you see the AJ Brown video of him recruiting Julio?
No.
You gotta go find it. It's out there. AJ Brown there, and so his background is just like this poster that a fan made adding Julio to the Titans roster. And AJ Brown has his own jersey on, but he like used like a tape, like athletic trainer tape, to make his 11 like an 8, because Julio is also number 11. And he's like, look at my boy here, Tannehill. And he's like, look at my boy here, he's the king. And then he's just like, he recruited him. He flat out just posted it.
I don't think I don't think it's up to Julio Jones to go where he's gonna go. I think he needs to recruit the Atlanta Falcons.
Right. It was fun. He was making fun. I mean, and you just could tell like it's mad respect. That's where it came from, at least for AJ Brown. And I think he wears 11 because of Julio.
I did see a stat that said Julio, we talked about this, Julio was really the second most efficient receiver last year in per snaps because not overall because he didn't play the whole season. I'm not really worried about his injury issues, but wide receivers tend to collapse at a certain point. Now, Julio's the kind of guy with a big body whose speed isn't his only game. It isn't part of his game, but it's not his only game. He's still really good, got good hands. But that is probably going to go sooner rather than later. We can't assume everybody is going to be Terrell Owens or Larry Fitzgerald. If anybody would, Julio fits that type, but he also could be the guys who just fall apart, like and just collapse, like Andre Johnson, like gone, 33 done, can't do it anymore.
AJ Green, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, so like I'm just saying, like 32 is kind of the year, and he's 32, and you're gonna have to pay him for 2 more years after this. He could just be done after this year, and that's like kind of the running backs are 30. I was looking at some stats, kind of 32, 33 is wide receivers, and he is that age right now, and you're paying him off at injury year, and you've still got 2 years of like $12 million a piece after this year. So that's kind of like why. Be very wary, because it's one of those things where we have some people that we know that we draft fantasy with. I know JT and Kevin know this. We call them the name drafters. They just draft like, oh, that guy's really good. Why is he still here at the end of the draft? I'm like, yeah, Matt Kemp was good like 9 years ago, but he's not good right now. And that we could be falling in love with old Julio Jones and not future Julio Jones.
Sometimes I like to think of Pete as a riverboat gambler. And he says all in, and you're like, Pete, you didn't even look at your cards. And he's like, I like to live dangerously.
Yeah. Sometimes
so maybe
pays off.
Maybe
Other
he
times,
needs some.
it does not.
He just needs some Julios in his life.
I mean, you guys do bring up some good points. Sean, I know you said you're not worried about the injuries. I would definitely be worried about the injuries. I would hate to have the Seahawks acquire him and then just have him just be banged up the whole season. So that does worry me. But at the same time, you know, if you have a chance to get a player like Julio, again, as long as the price is right, I would say absolutely pull the trigger. But to see Julio lined up with DK and Tyler with Russ, I mean, I mean, that sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good to me. I'll definitely take that.
Kevin said you better throw it. You better throw it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have reached the end of the hour here. Let us know what you think about Julio Jones possibly coming to the Seattle Seahawks. Go ahead and tweet at me. I am at _Matt. Sean's at _Beatty. Kevin's at Kev's with Versus Believes Me in a 3. JT is at JT_the Ginger. Before we go, JT, I have to ask you, what is your hat? Who is on your hat this week? I don't know. I don't know who that is. It's a great hat, but I don't know who that is.
It is the Lynchburg Hillcats. Lynchburg Hillcats. This is one of their alternative caps. So I just like the color combos with the Wildcat.
That's pretty sweet.
That's pretty sweet.
Also, just want to put out there, I don't know if anybody's been to a Dust Devils game, but Julio is still currently with Everett. So what is it, June 22nd, right? So get your tickets now.
27th.
June 27th, sorry. So you got a little bit longer.
22nd through the 27th.
Oh, okay.
6 games in a row.
Okay. So, Sean, better get some pens ready just in case. Maybe you three could all get a group rate together, see Julio play. So be ready. Be ready, because you never know.
That whole team. Why just Julio? That whole team is just loaded.
I mean, who do you want to see most on that team?
Can I say Kirby?
You can say Kirby. That's fine.
I just want to see Kirby throw 100 in Dust Devil Stadium. Do they even have 3 digits on their little gun?
They do.
They only had 2. Like I was like, do they even have 3?
No, they don't. Well, they don't have 3. It just posts up as 00 or 01. But it did happen a few weeks ago. There.
Yeah, because they got
Dust Devils.
So they've got Kirby's just gonna break the stadium. He's like,
Yeah, they've got a guy who's 6'4", Tennessee product for the Dust Devils. I'm blanking on his name at the moment, but yeah, he reached back and threw 101 in about like the 4th inning a couple weeks ago. So I looked at the gun and I was like, oh, that said 01. Oh, awesome. That was 101.
0. He just threw 1.
They should really add a 3rd digit. Like, come on, Tri-City.
Well, to be fair, the Dust Devils were very low, and no one in that level was throwing 100 until this year. So they got a big bump up in talent.
Just in case.
Yeah, I will say high A compared to low A. You get a year or 2 of growth and development and strictly baseball, only baseball, no other focus. I mean, the talent level is different. The very first inning I watched, the second at bat, they shifted, and I was like, well, I'm not used to this. Like they've come to play. Brennan Davis over this last week was the high A player of the week. I think he had 3 home runs and had a really good stat line for the week. He's usually batting second. And my oldest always asks, who's that guy? And I have to read his name out loud. And Brennan turned around and he's like, hey. And I was like, hi. And then I was like, nudging my 5-year-old, say hi. He's in the on deck circle, and you made him turn around. You might as well just say hi.
You didn't try for an autograph? I mean, on deck circle, he's got time.
They're playing the game.
The net, the net. It was like,
yeah, a Sharpie can fit through the net. Okay,
sign my baby.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
He's like, how old now? He's like almost 3.
He's still only like, almost 30 pounds. I can pick him up. I just throw him over the net, toss him back.
This is a baby.
All right. Well, with that, JT, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week on Washington East to West Sports.